The fertility specialist looked at my chart and sighed. At 44 with PCOS, your chances are less than 1%. Have you considered donor eggs? I walked out of that office devastated. 44 years old, diagnosed with PCOS at 28, and now being told my own eggs were basically worthless. But 3 months later, I was staring at two pink lines. No donor eggs, no IVF, just three natural changes that everyone said wouldn't work at your age. Before we dive in, quick question. Where are you watching from and what time is it there? Drop it in the comments because I want to know if you're up at 3 a.m. Googling pregnancy after 40 with PCOS like I used to. I see you, and this is for you. Look, nobody prepares you for how brutal fertility struggles are in your 40s. Everyone's either telling you about someone who got pregnant naturally at 45 or looking at you with pity because you waited too long. I hadn't waited. I've been fighting PCOS since my 20s. Multiple miscarriages in my 30s. Years of metformin that destroyed my stomach. Clomid that made me psychotic. By 43, I'd given up. But here's the part no one tells you. The real problem wasn't just my age or my PCOS. It was that I was still fighting my body with the same failed strategies from my 30s. See, after 40, especially with PCOS, your body doesn't need more medications. It needs metabolic healing and fighting the exact root cause. And when I finally understood this, everything shifted. My turning point came after my 44th birthday. I'd been following every PCOS diet: low carb, no sugar, intense exercise. My periods had completely stopped. My insulin resistance was worse than ever. I was exhausted, depleted, and done. Then I found research about PCOS and fertility after 40 that changed everything. Women with PCOS who balance blood sugar through specific foods, not restriction, can improve egg quality even in their 40s. Wait, what? Specific foods, not elimination, target the root cause and not necessarily target weight loss. So here's where most PCOS warriors get it wrong. We've been told to cut everything out: carbs, sugar, dairy, joy. But the first change that transformed my hormones? Adding in the right foods at the right times. Specifically, the three foods I talked about in my last video that revolutionized my PCOS. But here is one more thing I did not talk about. I know, with PCOS, we're told carbs are the enemy. But stay with me because this changed everything. 3 to 4 times in a week, within 30 minutes of waking, I'd eat 2 to 3 whole eggs with a piece of sprouted grain toast, topped with almond butter and Ceylon cinnamon. Not a protein shake, not intermittent fasting. Real, whole food that my PCOS body could actually use. Here's why this matters for fertility over 40. Your eggs, the ones in your ovaries, need steady blood sugar to develop properly. When you have PCOS and you're constantly spiking and crashing, your body never gets the stable environment it needs for egg maturation. And this is where it gets really interesting. Within 2 weeks of eating this breakfast consistently, my energy stabilized. No more 10 a.m. crashes, no more afternoon brain fog. But more importantly, and I track this religiously, my fasting glucose dropped from 105 to 92. For those with PCOS, you know how huge this is. My body was finally becoming insulin sensitive again. But here's what I didn't expect. My cravings disappeared completely. For 16 years with PCOS, I'd white-knuckled through sugar cravings every single day. Suddenly, they were gone. One morning, about 3 weeks in, I realized I hadn't thought about chocolate in days. My husband noticed too. "You seem calmer?" He was right. The blood sugar roller coaster that had ruled my life was finally evening out. Here's the truth. Most fertility blogs won't tell you. Your body will not prioritize making a baby if it thinks you're running from a tiger every day. And for me, stress was the silent fertility killer. I was working 10-hour days, glued to screens, answering emails at midnight. My cortisol was through the roof, and it was directly suppressing ovulation. So, my second 90-day rule: 30 minutes of daily stress release. Some days it was a slow walk after dinner, other days, deep breathing before bed, and once a week, a full hour of yoga or stretching. Within 6 weeks, my sleep went from broken and restless to 7 to 8 hours straight, and better sleep meant better hormone repair overnight. Now, this next part sounds woo-woo, but the science is solid, especially for PCOS. Morning sunlight became my non-negotiable. Here's what nobody tells you about PCOS and age. We have fundamentally disrupted circadian rhythms. Our cortisol is backwards, our melatonin is off, and our ovaries are confused about when to do what. In just a second, I'll share the one change that regulated my periods after 2 years of nothing. But first, let me explain what I did. Every morning, after my egg breakfast, I'd go outside. No sunglasses, no phone, just minimum of 15 to 20 minutes of morning light exposure. The combination of stable blood sugar from breakfast plus morning light exposure did something remarkable. It reset my cortisol rhythm. For those with PCOS, cortisol is everything. High cortisol increases testosterone, worsens insulin resistance, and tells your ovaries to shut down. It's why stress makes PCOS worse, and why just relax is terrible advice. But morning sunlight with movement naturally lowers cortisol and regulates your entire hormonal cascade. But here's the part that shocked me most. Day 35 of this routine. I got my period, first time in 2 years without medication, at 44 years old. My doctor said it was a fluke. Day 63. Another period. 28 days after the last one. Like a normal person. Like someone without PCOS. Like someone whose body wasn't too old. This next part might make you angry. It made me furious when I first learned it. All those HIIT workouts I was doing for my PCOS, they were making everything worse. For 2 decades, I'd been told that intense exercise would help my insulin resistance. So I punished my body with 6 a.m. spin classes, exhausting runs, brutal strength training. I was the fittest fat person you'd ever meet. Strong, capable, and still carrying 40 pounds of PCOS weight that wouldn't budge. And this is where most people with PCOS get it wrong. After 40, intense exercise increases inflammation and cortisol, the two things that make PCOS worse. Your body interprets hardcore workouts as stress, produces more testosterone, and doubles down on insulin resistance. So I did something radical. I started walking. Just walking. 30 minutes after each meal. The first week I felt like a failure. Where was the burn, the sweat, the exhaustion that proved I was doing something? But by week 3, my fasting insulin, which had been stuck at 25 for years, dropped to 18 without changing anything else. Here's the science. Walking after meals blunts glucose spikes by up to 30%. For PCOS, this is everything. It tells your ovaries it's safe to function normally. It reduces inflammation. It improves egg quality. Yes, even at 44. I remember one evening, about 6 weeks in, realizing I just walked 3 miles without thinking about it. Not forcing, not pushing, just moving. My body was starting to work with me instead of against me. By day 60, things were happening that my doctor said were impossible at my age with PCOS. My testosterone levels, elevated for 16 years, were finally in normal range. My facial hair, the bane of every PCOS woman's existence, was growing slower. But most remarkably, I was ovulating. Confirmed with basal body temperature, ovulation strips, and cervical mucus. But here's where the story gets really good. Day 75. I felt different. Not pregnant. Different. I'd been pregnant before and lost them. But my body felt alive, responsive, like it was finally working after being offline for years. Day 82. My period was due. Nothing. But with PCOS, that means nothing. I'd gone months without periods before. Day 90. Still nothing. My husband, who'd watched me cry over hundreds of negative tests, gently suggested I take one. Just to know, he said. The next morning, using the cheapest test from the dollar store, because I couldn't bear to waste another expensive one, 2 lines appeared immediately. Dark, clear, undeniable. At 44 years old, with PCOS, 3 months after being told to consider donor eggs. Here's what I wish someone had told me at 40 or 35, or when I was first diagnosed with PCOS. Your body isn't broken. PCOS isn't a life sentence. Age isn't the enemy. The enemy is inflammation, insulin resistance, cortisol dysfunction. And these can be healed at any age. And this is the part that might save you years of heartache. Stop following generic PCOS advice that doesn't account for your age. After 40, your body needs more nourishment, not less. More stability, not more restriction. More gentleness, not more punishment. Stop believing that PCOS means you can't get pregnant naturally. Yes, it's harder. Yes, it takes longer. But harder doesn't mean impossible. Start with the basics: eggs and cinnamon for breakfast, morning sunlight, walks after meals. These aren't just fertility tips. They're metabolic healing practices that address the root cause of PCOS. I got pregnant at 44 after being told it was impossible, without a single fertility treatment. Not because I'm special or lucky, but because I finally stopped attacking my PCOS and started healing it. If you're watching this thinking, but I'm 41, 43, 45, it's too late for me. I want you to know something. I had that same thought every single day until I saw those 2 lines. Tomorrow morning, you get to start fresh. Make those eggs. Sprinkle that cinnamon. Step into the sunlight. Take that walk. These simple acts are powerful medicine for PCOS bodies at any age. One last thing. I know how lonely and overwhelming this journey can feel, but you are not broken. Your body is capable of more than you've been told. If you've ever been told it's too late or your chances are slim, I want you to comment below, "I'm not done yet," and "How old are you?" Because I want to celebrate every 35 plus PCOS warrior who's refusing to give up. Because your story isn't over. And maybe, just maybe, your miracle is closer than you think. And if this resonated with you, share it with that friend who's been told she's too old or her PCOS is too severe. She needs to hear that bodies can heal at any age. You've got this. Your eggs are listening, and miracles happen every day, even after 40, even with PCOS. Trust the process. Trust your body. It knows what to do.